Cable number 8 continues young teen baby Nate's hunt for Strife, his arch-nemesis alt-clone, looking to put a stop to his baby kidnapping schemes. Cable loops in Domino, longtime ally and sometime romantic interest of old man Cable, and the odds shift in the search for Strife. Today I'll answer, what's the history of Cable and Domino's relationship? What it means for Krakoa to be looking down this many clones of Nate Summers? What in the heck is going on with Old Man Cable? And theories and predictions for things to come here in Cable and in the Reign of X as well. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You're listening to Krakin Krakoa, number 159. If you like the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting here. That all helps me reach more comics fans and individuals like you. You can find full X-Men and Reign of X reading orders in comicbookherald.com. Links in the show notes. Spoilers for Discuss Comics will follow. Writer Gerry Duggan, artist Phil Noto, letters by Joe Sabino. Cable goes out with Domino in Tokyo primarily to follow up on the case of the missing mutant babies that Strife and his Order of X have kidnapped, but also because young teen Cable doesn't totally understand all these longtime alliances the older version of himself has established, right? He needs to get to know Domino a bit and understand what the relationship has been historically. Now, Cable and Domino have been involved romantically on and off again, but most lasting, Domino is a very early part of Cable's early 90s X-Force days, debuting via creators Rob Liefeld and Fabian DiCiesa in X-Force number 8. There are few mutants who have fought as closely or as regularly beside the OG Cable as Domino. Now, there's an interesting aside in the early battle here, too, with Domino referencing ending up in the hole with Sabertooth. I kind of wondered if this was common knowledge heading into this issue. Like, do all the mutants, or do most mutants know that Sabertooth is in this, like, never-ending prison? And based on what Domino's saying, she does. Now, she's a part of X-Force. Maybe she has some inside information. Cable, part of House Summers, and obviously connections within mutantdom. Like, maybe it's not like, you know, a Knowles walking around with this information, but definitely more people than just the Quiet Council do seem to know about Sabertooth's prison, which again, for my weekend Krakin Krakoa coming this weekend, I am going to be looking into and exploring a little bit, like, who's up next for, prison imprisonment alongside Sabertooth, okay? But back to Cable. Shortly after Domino echoes the sentiments of Old Man Cable stands everywhere on their date and tells Cable that he's too young for her, Cable uncovers, well, a lot. He uncovers that Strife's been cloning him an awful lot. There's a bunch of wee baby teen Cables rushing him. Strife has created a whole Cable clone factory, Russian copycats at the original, to try and capture him, okay? There's also some revelations here, and maybe this was clear in previous issues, that like various members of the Order of X themselves are like middle-aged clones of Cable. This was not clear to me, perhaps in my loose reading, but Strife is out here cloning Nate Summers left and right. I will say here too, mutant clones seem like a big old problem on Krakoa right now, especially considering that cloned mutant DNA does appear to have access to Krakoan gates. Okay, we have Cable's clones here in the pages of, his own ongoing, right? We have a Psylocke clone seemingly running around in the pages of Excalibur. We of course have, Gabby, aka Honey Badger, is a clone herself. We had the Madeline Pryor saga and Hellions, and it was ruled she was not allowed on Krakoa, at least, to their knowledge. But again, the implication was like, well, could Madeline Pryor walk through the Krakoan gate? She sure seemed to think so. So clones are becoming an increasing issue for Krakoa, and obviously it's in full force here in Cable. I do appreciate mid-battle here too, like Cable calling out Apocalypse's thinking in raising Strife in the first place and being appropriately angry with Apocalypse, obviously now in a mutant kind ally. It's one thing for Hickman, Howard, and company to write the new history of Apocalypse in Ten of Swords, how everything he did was to make mutant kind stronger to withstand the forces of Amenth, right? So he could one day be reunited with his family, but I like seeing it applied here to specific context. This is actually very interesting. Apocalypse was going to use Cable/Strife as a host body for himself, and I think under a certain lens, you could look at this and say, sure, he was trying to power up with all that sweet TK goodness to get back to Genesis, to get back to his wife, okay? Nonetheless, some Strife and Apocalypse flashbacks in this book would be awesome. I would love to see Apocalypse raising Strife now with the knowledge of like what he was planning, and knowing about Amenth and knowing about his family and everything that was added via the X-Men narrative, and of course in Ten of Swords. I would love that in the pages of Cable. Now, following the showdown of all the Cable clones, which nearly ends with Domino butchering basically all the clones, one Nate clone does escape, okay, before Domino and the real Teen Cable catch up. Again, the clone highlights my Krakoa concerns, stating that his plan is to take Teen Cable's place on the island. Something to think about here is, like, what is preventing this, okay? Could this have happened already with other characters? You know, like anyone could be cloned, and could their clone have already taken their place on Krakoa? Again, this appears to be happening more or less right now in the pages of Excalibur, where it looks like we have a Betsy Braddock clone that Jamie Braddock acquired from Mr. Sinister, and it's something to really watch closely. Like, how many Krakoan mutants could have been supplanted by clones right now? I don't know that we know. For a while in the Dawn of X, it felt like everybody and their brother had mutant power dampening tech. You know, like early on, it was like, oh, everyone has mutant power dampening tech. This is convenient. And I feel like we're entering a phase where the new version of this is clones. Unless the X-Men office wants their very own clone saga, and generally speaking, that is not something most people want, I think we're on the road to some Krakoan Gate updates, or even just like psychic security, you know, or Professor X using Cerebro that can root out clone infiltration, at least like somewhat more regularly. And then the clone that we meet here of Nate, he gets his head blown off by a random meteor. Domino's luck powers are doing work here over time. I gotta say, this was like, I guess this was played for comedy. It was a really odd sequence. I was like, what is this? Like, what is the reveal here gonna be? Nope, just a little meteor, a little callback to the introduction of Domino explaining her powers as meteors more or less crashing into themselves. Now, the issue, Cable, number 8, ends with an exciting tease, finally a return to Old Man Cable in another time, another place. Okay, this was teased way back in Cable number 1, that we have a story about the Old Man Cable, who young Cable, if you've forgotten or haven't been following along here on Krakin Krakoa, young Cable comes back to this time, and he kills Old Man Cable as part of the extermination event. This is pre-House of X, pre-Powers, pre-Hickman era, okay? Now, in Cable number 1, Gerry Duggan says, yeah, there is a story here with Old Man Cable. He's trapped in some realm. We don't know where. We don't know when. And now we get, like, this is the most information we've gotten, okay? We see Cable traversing this plains. We see him with, like, some kind of little robot dog thing. It is implied here that Stryfe is also at work capturing Cable, given Cable's use of the term nemesis, unless this, you know, maybe he's talking about, like, Deadpool or somebody, which, fair, right? But probably he's talking about Stryfe. But that's all we get. We don't get a ton more there as to what Old Man Cable's doing. I would love some more details there. I would definitely go for a Cable issue that is all Old Man Cable, although perhaps, taking their time here in the Dawn of X and the Reign of X and the X-Men office. Now, the Krakoan for the next issue, Cable number 9, reads Young Love, not Your Glove, which is what I spent a good 5 minutes pondering and trying to figure out what this was a reference to. Just a slight Krakoan mistranslation there on my end. Let me know your theories and comments about where things are going. Are you interested in Teen Cable? Has Teen Cable won you over? Are you more excited now that the Strife's here? I know I am, for one. Definitely let me know what you think about the comic in the show notes. I mean, for me, I talked about Marauders being very consistent and very good. I would say upper tier, not the best, but upper tier. Cable's firmly in the middle for me. Cable's a middle of the road book. I like it fine. It's solid. I like Phil Noto's art. I see a lot of complaints about it here and there. But honestly, I'm a Phil Noto fan. I mean, he's inking, he's penciling, he's coloring himself, he's doing it all. And again, like these go down so easy. Every issue of Cable goes down quick and easy. Not a lot of complaints, but at the same time, is it the most satisfying read? No, absolutely not, right? It's kind of middle of the road for me. So thanks everybody for listening. I'm Dave. You can find my stuff at comicbookherald.com. You can support the site and the Krakin Krakoa at patreon.com/comicbookherald. Thanks in particular to my mysterious benefactors. Thank you, Jesse W., Professor Pride, Cole Weathers, Martin Lopez, Chris Isidro, Brent Bowser, Professor X3769, Petey Appleseed, Verisimilitude, Terranort, Ed Mackey, Clyde DeGlide, Pinball Drew, Mike Solomons, Matt Mahoney, and John Samander. Thanks so much for your generous support at the Mysterious Benefactors tier level. Look for my stuff at comicbookherald.com, at comicbookherald on social. Look for the best comics ever in My Marvelous Year podcast for more from me. And as always, thanks for listening and enjoy the comics.